Hi, my name is Ryan Fernandez, and I'm going to be guiding you through this assessment, also known as your portfolio of evidence. So, what is an assessment or portfolio of evidence? It's an easy way to prove your competency in management. So, obviously, with BMS, it is at a level 5, which is a little bit of a higher qualification. And so, you need to prove to the SACWA board and to the NQF that you are capable of implementing what you have learned. And so, that's what a portfolio of evidence is all about. So, we will guide you through the collection of your evidence through trying to make sure that you show to the assessors and the moderators that you know exactly what to do in your management journey. So let's get going. You will have a group of assessors that will be helping you through this process. They are working through NQ Plus, and so there are their contact details. You've got an email address. You've also got the personal cell phone details of Nolan and Innocent. So those are your head assessors. They are the people that you can contact at any time during office hours to gain more information if you get stuck in your assessment. So there are their details. There's also a courier address. So if you are going to be posting your assessments, that is where you need to post them to. Otherwise, if it is an electronic portfolio of evidence, then please make sure that you email it through and they will give you further instructions. So that's just your first point of call in your assessments. Why should you do a portfolio? Well, it is the easiest way of getting a qualification. You don't have to go through exams, you don't have to write tests, you don't have to do these massive projects. It's really just a process of showing us that you understand what the management functions are all about. You'll collect the evidence of that you actually have put that into place. So you don't just have the knowledge, but you're also able to apply the knowledge. So it's a very simple way of helping you to get a qualification. You'll be earning credits. Those credits will help you in your management journey or going up the ladder wherever you are. So this proves that you've internalized the training that you have received. So it's a very important function to be able to show us, not through an exam, not through a test, because not all of us really enjoy those and actually can perform under that kind of pressure. This is a far more natural way of being able to show that you are competent in what you have learned. It's also fantastic for your CV. So to put this qualification on your CV to show that you have gone through the skills program and that you have earned the credits. It helps to get your leg up in terms of a new promotion or to move up the ladder. It's nationally and internationally accredited. So it's recognized in places like the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, Canada. As long as it's on an NQF level, then you will be able to use those credits wherever you go in the world. If you complete this assessment or portfolio of evidence, you receive something called the Certificate of Competence. So that, again, shows that you've internalized the concepts and you are able to apply it. If you just go through the program, all that you get is a certificate of completion, which is not as powerful as a certificate of competence. It also helps you along the journey to gaining a full qualification. If you are looking at getting a diploma in management or a degree in management or even just a full qualification in management, these credits help you towards finishing that process. Also, remember that your credits never fall away. So, if you've decided that this is a once off, but in 5 years' time, you want to actually go off and start a qualification, these credits will always apply. And so they help you to fast track you through a different qualification in management. So always keep those credits and you can check them out on the SACWA website. So that's the South African Qualifications Accreditation Team. This program has unit standards. So what you'll see is when you start the certificate or when you start the portfolio or the assessment, you will see something that is known as unit standards. It shows that you are competent in certain concepts and applying them systematically. So all of those are loaded onto the NQF system and that they will be accredited to you and your profile on the South African Qualifications Accreditation framework. And so you can actually go there to saqa.com, saqa.com, and you can register there, and then it will give you a printout of all the things that you have done that have been accredited, from your matric all the way through the programs that you have done. And so try, whenever you are training, to do something that is accredited, because that will stick to your profile and that will show that you are competent in those areas. So saqa.com is the place to go to find out what you have done that is accredited. All right, what are the do's and don'ts in your portfolio? The first thing is you are going to need to attach an ID. Please make sure that it has been certified in the last 6 months. Otherwise, it is no longer valid. So, rule of thumb, every 3 months, make sure that you have some kind of stamped certified ID with you, but please make sure the one that you put into this portfolio is younger than 6 months. Also, please don't use pencil. Go for it. Put it down in pen, because if it's in pencil, then it shows that it could have been adjusted, and we don't want that, because then it'll be rejected by the moderators and you're going to have to do it again. So don't use pencil. Also, please don't use red pen or green pen. They are used in the assessment and the moderation phases. So please make sure that it's only black or blue that you use while you are filling in this assessment. Also, please don't use Tipex. Again, Tipex will show alterations. Rather just cross it out and then write the new answer next to it or underneath it, or even on a blank page. So if you have blank pages, please make sure that at the bottom of those blank pages that you sign and you date it. And then you can just attach it to the back of your portfolio. Make sure that the question that you're answering is also indicated, so that it makes it easier for the assessors. There are spaces where you are going to need to get your manager or team members to sign, that they have seen you in action and that you are competent in the things that you have said you are competent in. So please make sure that there are no blank areas in your portfolio. Make sure that where a manager's signature or team member signature is needed, that it is filled out. Okay. There are also spaces where you are going to have to do planning projects, or you are going to need to implement something. And at the top of those tables, there are spaces for you to put in objectives. Please make sure that there are no empty objectives. So where it says objectives, next to it, please put a SMART goal of what you are trying to accomplish or what you are trying to achieve. Put down timeframes, put down specifics of what you are trying to do. That objective then ties into your plans or your implementation. So please make sure that all of your objectives are filled in. As I said earlier, if there are any blank pages or attachments or addendums that are added to your assessment, please make sure that you sign and date at the bottom of those pages. And then a big one. Before you hand in your assessment or your portfolio, please make sure that you have made a copy. We don't want it to be sent through to the assessors and they say, look, you got some kind of remedial that you have to do and you don't have access to your original portfolio. Make copies, either paper copies, or scan it into a system so that you can then use that as reference. It also helps that if over the courier, through the courier phase of you sending it down to the assessors, if anything happens, well, then you've got a backup. Just make sure that you have a second copy somewhere, either on your hard drive or that you have printed one out. So that, again, is a very important part of your assessment. That brings us to your assessment briefing checklist. So I'm going to be doing this briefing with you. Make sure that I cover everything that is listed on that briefing checklist. If you make sure that I have covered everything, then all that you need to do is tick that I have covered that and that you understand it and that you fully comprehend what all of this is all about. So you know how to fill in your assessment, you know what the protocols are, and you know the procedure of how it's going to work. So go through all of those questions, tick them if you feel that you are adequately prepared for this assessment, and then at the bottom, please sign and date that I have fulfilled everything that you need on this assessment briefing. Okay, so that's the assessment briefing checklist. So this is now your BMS assessment guide. I'm just going to move myself a little bit. There we go. So on the front, you are going to need to make sure that you follow all the requirements. You're going to make sure that it is fully compliant. The first thing that you are going to do is you're going to put in your name under learner's name. So that's one that you will always get right. Then you're going to put down your manager or mentor's name. So through this process, you need to have a mentor, and that is normally the person that you report to. It's going to tell you when did you participate on BMS. So your facilitator, they will be the ones that will tell you what date to put in there. Then who is your BMS facilitator? So that person you would have journeyed with or at least know fairly well. So please put their name in under BMS facilitator. In 3 months' time, you will submit this portfolio of evidence. So please take 3 months from the end of the training period. Okay, so from when you have completed the formative section, you now have 3 months to submit your portfolio of evidence or your assessment. Okay, so please make sure that it is 3 months from the day. Then at the bottom, there are going to be attempts, competent or not yet competent, and date. That is not for you to worry about. This is what the assessors use. So the assessor's name, the assessor's signature goes on there, and the person who will be moderating this assessment, they will also fill in over there. So don't worry about that. Leave that blank, and the assessor and the moderator will fill in those sections. You will have 3 attempts at completing this assessment. So it's like in baseball, 3 strikes. And we really want to encourage you to reach out to the assessment division. They're there to guide you, they're there to help you, they're there to make sure that everything that you put onto your assessment is answering the questions of the portfolio of evidence. So use them, they are your resource. So on your first attempt, okay, you will send this portfolio after 3 months of having worked on it. It will then arrive at the assessment division. The assessment division then accordingly has 20 working days to assess your portfolio of evidence. If you are found competent on your first attempt, it then gets transferred to the CETA for what they call moderation, just to make sure that everything has been fulfilled. They would then, after 3 months, that's how long the process takes. 3 months later, you will definitely have your certificate. So it's a fairly lengthy process. You will hand in, then there will be 20 days for assessment, and then there will be 3 months for it to be moderated and for you to get your certificate of competence. In the meantime, you will get feedback from the assessors. The assessors will tell you if you have any remedial or if you have been found competent. And so please make sure that you look out for any emails that come from the assessors and then action it accordingly. If you are not found competent on the first go, well, then you have a second go. So let me move myself and your second attempt. So let's say in the first attempt, there were a couple of questions that weren't exactly according to what the assessors want to see. Well, then you will have another 30 days to be able to remedial that. So there'll be a time of remedial, and you would then find the questions that you have not appropriately answered. You will then go back to your copied portfolio, you will adjust your answers, and then you will have 30 days from when you have been given that remedial instruction to then hand in again. Okay, so you will be flagged if it is later than 30 days after receiving your instructions. But just remember that that assessment or the reassessment has to then go back to the assessors. The assessors again have 20 working days to assess your remedial. If you are found competent on your second submission, then again, the CETA or the moderators will have 3 months to be able to go through an external moderation process, and then for you to receive your certificate of competence. Okay. So you do not need to courier your remedial work. You can email. So scan in and email your remedial work to the assessment division. But also remember to sign and initial the remedial pages so that we can make sure that it is your work that is being submitted. If you do not make it through on your second attempt, you will have one further attempt. Okay. If you are found not yet competent after attempt number 3, then I need you to be aware that there will be a support session that is going to be booked for you. That often comes at a price, and so we don't want to get you to that point. Through all 3 assessment submissions, you have an opportunity to engage with the assessment division. So use those opportunities. Don't submit without you being 100% sure that you have answered the question correctly. But as I said, if after your 3rd attempt you are not yet competent, there will be a support session that will be booked for you. And then if you are found competent on your 3rd attempt, remember that the 20 days of assessment and the 3 months of moderation will still be in effect. So it will take a fair amount of time before you get your certificate of competence. All right. So I want you then, just before you are prepared to submit, to please go through the checklist. So there is a checklist in your portfolio. It gives you submission instructions, and so you're going to read through it and make sure that everything that needs to be filled in is filled in. If you are 100% compliant and you are happy that that checklist is totally comprehensive, then hand in your assessment. Make sure that it is couriered through or otherwise emailed through according to what the facilitator has told you. But read through those different statements, tick if you are happy, and then feel free to submit or your assessment. All right, so this is the formative section. So the formative section is all of the things that you have done during the training phase or during the understanding of the knowledge phase. So over here, they will show you all of the formative that you need to submit as part of your assessment. So while you were going through exercises, while you were doing multiple choice tests, while you were engaging with your team, we also need to see proof that you were there, that you were engaged in the process. And so that will be the way that you can show us that you were engaged. So insert all of your formative work or activities that you did during the 2 training phases. Now anything, so rule of thumb is anything that has got pen marks on it, okay, make sure that you put into your assessment. So during the training, if there are any exercises, any tests that you put pen to paper, rather be safe and make sure that that is part of your submission of your assessment. Okay, there will also be scores. So wherever you have got scores, make sure that you put them in and that you can also send that score sheet through to the assessment division. Okay, so just go through that, make sure that everything that you have done during the knowledge gathering phase is put into your assessment as well. Now you have something called a workplace objectives sheet. This is helping you to grow in your development. So you have learned about management. You are now on the road to becoming an even better manager, being able to get better performance out of your teams. But part of the process is that you are going to be mentored, or at least you are going to be monitored by your direct manager. And so this sheet helps you to then put in 3 objectives that you want to achieve during the phase. After you have gathered all the knowledge, you are now going to go into a process of applying that knowledge. So when you sit with your manager, you are going to decide on 3 objectives, 3 things that you want to be better at in order to better perform with your team. So the first thing that they ask you is, what is the workplace objective that you're working on with your manager? Maybe it is to do better presentations. Maybe it is to have more effective meetings. Maybe it is to use my time more effectively. Maybe it is to coach my team. Whatever it is, choose 3 objectives that you want to achieve during this phase, and you're going to put them in there. Then which project activity links to this objective? So there have been activities that you have done during the formative phase. Tell me which project links to that objective. Okay, so which project that you have already gone through links to the objective that you want to achieve. Then you are going to meet 3 times. So you will see that there are 3 dates of meetings. Put in the dates that you have met. Maybe it's going to be 3 weeks apart. Maybe it's 2 weeks apart. You and the manager decide, you look at your diaries and you decide when you guys are going to meet. Then, according to the objectives, you are going to then, together with your manager, decide how close you are to achieving those objectives. You'll see it says early days, on track, or done. You will tick at the end of each meeting where you are in terms of that objective. Then at the bottom, it will say the value added to the organization by this priority. So if it is running more effective meetings, maybe you say, we've seen real tangible returns because of the way that we are now doing meetings. Or maybe it was a planning project, and now you're saying, hey, we've been able to save the company 40,000 Rand a month. So try and make it as tangible as possible right at the bottom, which is value added to the organization through this priority. Then right at the bottom, the manager's name is going to be put in, and then the date of when you have finished this process. So that is the workplace objectives sheet. So when you finally decide to submit your assessment, we would like you to send it to either email it to those names, so info@NQ+, or to Nolan at NQ+, or to Innocent at NQ+, or compliance at NQ+. Also, if you want to courier it, there are the details for the courier. Okay, so there are also the file will not be returned, and please make a copy for your own records. So those are very important things and important things to note. So it's in your portfolio, and make sure that you note those details. Okay, this is what is known as the assessment scope. So each unit standard will be numbered, and again, that gets uploaded to the SAQA site. It will tell you what it is all about, and it also tell you how many credits you earn towards a qualification by completing that specific part of the assessment. So that is the assessment scope. Ultimately, a BMS program, when you have completed the whole program, you get 46 credits towards a generic management qualification at an NQF level 5. Okay, so that is sort of a tertiary education standard, and that's a level 5. If you get a diploma, that's at a level 6. If you get a degree, it's at a level 7. So it's a high level of qualification. And so you finish your BMS and you get 46 credits towards a full qualification. All right. You will also see a little flow chart that is there in your portfolio. It just shows you the process that your assessment goes through before you get your certificate of competence. So go through that, just give yourself a little bit of an understanding of how that process works. It's there in your portfolio for your reference. You'll also see that there are editable pages that are in your portfolio. So if you are doing this electronically or digitally, just read through that so that you know which ones you need to fill in, which ones are editable, and which ones are there just for information. So read through that section so that you know how to fill in your electronic version of your portfolio of evidence. All right, so again, this is just a brief overview of how to approach this. Again, don't use red or green pens, only use black or blue. Don't use pencil, don't use Tipex. Also know that we know if you are plagiarizing or copying, so don't do that because that is a major offense and we don't want it to be red flagged and told to your manager or to your HR. So just make sure that it is your answers and not someone who has been working with you through this project. All right, if there is not enough space to answer the full question and you want to use a blank page, again, remember to sign at the bottom and to date at the bottom. Also, you have something that is known as the right to appeal. So I'm just going to move myself out and you can see at the bottom here. If you are unhappy with the decision of the assessor, you have the right to elevate this. And so speak to your manager, speak to your HR. If you are 100% certain that you have the right answer and that it hasn't been marked right, then feel free to appeal. So use your HR or use your manager. They will then send correspondence and then we will relook at your assessment. Okay, again, you have 3 months to complete this portfolio of evidence. If anything happens in those 3 months, if you, for instance, need to go and have a child, or if anything, you're having an operation, or anything happens that needs to set out the time and you need an extension, please speak to your HR so that they are able to send us correspondence. We will then make an alternative date, an alternative consideration, and then we will communicate that through to your HR and to you and to your manager if you need an extension. Okay. If you do not have a team currently that reports into you, please speak to your HR or to your manager and organize a team just for this project. Maybe they need to put together a task team just so that you can get the experience of managing a team. Also, please remember that there are spaces for team signatures and for manager signatures. Make sure that everyone signs, especially those who have to sign for this portfolio of evidence. Then you're also going to need to make a declaration. So there is a learner declaration form, and you'll see that in your portfolio of evidence. You need to complete that. Okay, please also make sure that there is a witness to you making this declaration. It is a legal declaration, and therefore there needs to be someone who witnesses that. Make sure that their name is included, the date in which you have signed, as well as their signature. Okay, and if there are any barriers to assessment, again, if you perhaps don't have the resources or you don't have a team, or if there is going to be some kind of medical thing that happens in this process, please let us know so that we can assess accordingly and make any kind of accommodations that we need to help you to accomplish this. Then you are going to be again loaded onto the SAQA website, okay, or onto the SAQA system. So we need to make sure that we are loading the credits to the right person. So there is a learner information form. Please make sure that you fill in that form. It's called the About You form, and there is a front section. So you're going to be filling in that. There also is a section for privacy consent. So in other words, anything that you say in the portfolio is not allowed to be distributed. So it is just between you and the assessor, and that either gets marked competent or not yet competent. We do not share any of your answers with your organization. Please also make sure that everything is correct, because again, we will load this up against your profile on the SAQA framework. At the back, you will also see that there are tick boxes, and those need to be filled in because of the demographics. We need to know what is the makeup of the learners that we put through these processes, and so SAQA needs this, and so please make sure that that is also filled in to the best of your ability. So then you're also going to put together a summary CV. We want to know, again, who you are, where you come from, what are your original qualifications. So over there is a summary CV. Please fill it in, again, to your best of your ability. And also provide us with your matric or your highest qualification. There is a part there, again, it's a legal declaration, where if you do not have the copies of your matric or your highest qualification, please circle it. Okay, so at the bottom you see it says I do or do not have copies of my highest qualification. Please circle the one that is most appropriate. If you do not have, please circle do not. And if you do have, please circle do. And if you do have, then you're going to make sure that we have certified copies of those qualifications or your highest qualification. All right. At the bottom, please make sure that your name and signature goes at the bottom. Also, if you already have a CV, and don't make extra work for yourself, rather just copy that out and then attach that. We want to see the experience that you've already had as well as the qualifications that you have achieved over your lifetime in employment. So we'd like to see that, please. And then again, the assessment team details. I think this is the third time that we've gone through it, but we just really want to make sure that you know that we're on your side, that we're here to help you as much as we possibly can. And so Noden and Innocent are the team members that will be engaging with you. There are their details, and so feel free to contact them. But we really want to wish you all the best of luck during this journey. It is a very meaningful and sometimes quite challenging journey of showing us how much you have learnt and grown over this qualification, over this program. And so we're there for you. We're going to try and guide you and help you in any way that we possibly can. We want you to walk away with this, with those full 46 credits, so that this starts your journey into management. And anything that we can do to help you and to guide you, that's why we are here. So best of luck with all of that. Let us know how it goes and if you need any help along the way. But pretty much that is the briefing. That should give you all your information that you possibly need in order to start with your portfolio of evidence, or otherwise known as your summative assessment. So from all of us at Dyna Training and at NQ Plus, we wish you all the best along this journey.